How strong is Luffy pre-time skip? When we talk about Monkey D. Luffy's strength before the 2-year time skip, we're covering a journey that runs from Romance Dawn all the way through Marineford. And the main reason this question is so tricky is because Luffy's power doesn't scale in a clean linear way. He doesn't just get a little stronger with every arc. Instead, he usually hits sudden spikes of growth, usually in response to enemies who should, on paper, be far stronger than him. The right way to analyze him is arc by arc and fight by fight, and then place him relative to the established hierarchy of the One Piece world at the time. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how strong Monkey D. Luffy was before the 2-year time skip. Now let's not waste any more time because I'm about to get real in depth with this one. Before we get into it, if you've been rocking with my videos or if you're just new and like this kind of content, then be sure to like and subscribe. I drop One Piece analyses, discussions, and debates regularly, so if that's your thing, you're in the right place. Now without further ado, let's get into today's topic. From the start, Luffy is already operating above the level of an ordinary pirate. His devil fruit makes him immune to blunt attacks and firearms, which neutralizes most of East Blue's threats instantly. But what really stands out is his physical strength. Against Alvida, Morgan, and Buggy, he isn't just beating them, he's overwhelming them casually. Don Krieg is the first test of his durability. Luffy takes poison, explosions, and spiked armor, yet he keeps pushing until Krieg is finished. Then comes Arlong. Now this fight matters because it shows destructive output. Luffy literally tears down Arlong Park with his raw strength, and by the end of East Blue, Luffy is the undisputed strongest pirate of the region, but still far below the level of Grand Line veterans. Logtown introduces Smoker, and that's our first reminder of Luffy's limitations. Against Logia users and without Haki, he's practically helpless. That one weakness follows him until the time skip. Alabasta though is where we get his first true benchmark in Crocodile. This fight takes 3 attempts to resolve. Round 1, Luffy is destroyed. Round 2, he adapts using water and later blood to bypass Crocodile's sand body, but it's not enough and Crocodile still wins. But by the time round 3 comes around, despite poison and exhaustion, Luffy finally beats him. Defeating Crocodile is critical because Crocodile isn't a weak warlord. He's a veteran of the Pirate King's era with a Logia fruit and massive political influence. Luffy's victory against him instantly places him into the world stage as someone who can topple major powers. From here on, he isn't just promising, he's proving. Now, the NL fight is kinda complicated because on one hand, NL has city to island level destructive power, mantra for precog, and speed feats that most characters couldn't deal with. On the other hand, Luffy is literally immune to lightning, and that immunity to lightning means NL's main advantage in battle is literally useless. So how do we treat this? Well, Luffy defeating NL doesn't suddenly scale him to Admiral tier, because at the end of the day, it's a situational win, but it does prove that his devil fruit isn't just defensive. In certain matchups, it creates absolute counters that let him bypass otherwise insurmountable opponents. And that is actually important context for understanding how dangerous Luffy is even at this stage. Enies Lobby is Luffy's biggest leap in power pre-time skip without a shadow of a doubt. CP9 represents specialized government assassins with Lucci standing at the top. And to beat him, Luffy invents entirely new techniques, those being Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. Gear 2nd dramatically amplifies his speed and power, allowing him to blitz Bluno who previously outpaced him. Gear 3rd on the other hand gives him massive destructive power big enough to shatter structures with a single blow. The downside of it is temporary exhaustion and shrinking, which makes it situational but still game changing. And his fight with Lucci is where all of this comes together. Lucci pushes him harder than anyone else since Crocodile, but this time Luffy adapts mid-fight, and by the end he proves that he can beat the government's top agent at his absolute best, which places Luffy above the level of most elite human fighters in the series at the time, and it shows that he's capable of evolving during battle in ways most fighters can't. Thriller Bark doesn't give Luffy a skill jump like Enies Lobby, but it does highlight his stamina and endurance. Fighting ores and then ores enhanced with shadows and then Moria himself, all in succession, pushes him beyond exhaustion, yet he continues fighting and ultimately wins. This is where we can really see just how much punishment Luffy's body can handle. It sets up the idea that even when he's running entirely on fumes, he can still pull off decisive victories. And that trait is what carries him through the arcs that follow. At Sabaody, Luffy hits the ceiling of his pre-time skip ability. The pacifistas already demand the entire crew's effort just to bring one of them down. And against Kizaru, he couldn't even land a single hit. And Kuma at that point was just kinda overkill, to be honest. This single arc proves that despite everything he's achieved, there's still a massive gap between Luffy and the top tiers of the world, the Admirals and the Yonkos. Impel Down isn't just about power upgrades, it's about survivability. Luffy fights his way through level after level of the prison, clashing with Magellan and only surviving thanks to outside help. What stands out is how many lethal situations he endures. Poison, exhaustion, and back-to-back battles. His ability to withstand what would kill nearly anyone else becomes his defining trait here. Marineford is Luffy at his peak before the time skip. He charges into a war involving admirals, warlords, and Whitebeard's commanders. He contributes by saving lives, clashing with giants, and briefly crossing paths with top-tier fighters. But when it comes down to pure power, the gap is obvious. Admirals like Akainu and Kizaru overwhelm him with no effort. The real feat here isn't who Luffy beats, it's really that he even survived, because Marineford shows that even among the strongest in the world, Luffy's durability and willpower let him leave a mark. But it also reaffirms that he's not yet in their league. So, where does pre-time skip Luffy actually stand? Well, for starters, he's unquestionably the strongest in the East Blue. By the time we get to Alabasta, he's strong enough to kill a warlord if he wanted to. By Enies Lobby, he's strong enough to beat elite government agents with new techniques. And by Thriller Bark, his endurance is bordering on absurd. But at Sabaody and Marineford, the ceiling is clear. Admirals and Yonkos are far beyond him. So, with that being said, the most accurate placement is high warlord level. He's powerful enough to defeat top Grand Line threats and rival government assassins, but nowhere near Admiral or Yonko tier yet. But what do you guys think? Do you think Luffy pre-time skip scales higher or lower than this? Well, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in whatever I make next. Peace.